The price for going to Walt Disney World and enjoying the rides there has risen astronomically over the holiday season. Genie Plus prices are breaking all sorts of records, and that's no good. It's no good because the cost for a family to attend the most magical place on Earth is now out of reach for so many. Even if you do manage to get through those turnstiles, you're now DLC'd. You're now paying extra money just to get services that once were free. Today we're going to examine what's going on here and whether or not the crowd levels actually justify any of this. Folks, you do not want to miss this, especially if you're planning to visit Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Strap in, let's get started right now. Yes, it's a busy time of year, and no, we're not saying that Disney World is completely empty. It is crowded to some degree, but not necessarily as much as it has been in past holiday seasons, and yet the prices are rising dramatically for anybody who wants to be on a ride. Standby times growing over 2 hours, in some cases 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen. And consider that you have paid to get into the parks more easily than $100, usually about $200 per person. You don't want to spend that time waiting 2 and 3 hours in the standby line, and yet that is what is happening as Disney sells Genie Plus passes and Lightning Lane passes to the point that the standby lines have come to a crawl. You are now essentially forced into this idea of paying even more than you already paid just to get to ride the rides that you paid to go ride in the first place, if you get my drift. Today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whether or not the parks are actually even set up any longer to accommodate fans and guests and have them have a good time with their families, or whether it's just there to nickel and dime you to death once you're in. It's not a great business strategy in my viewpoint, but let's bring in the panel and see what they think. Well, moving right along, folks, we're talking today about Walt Disney World because they have cranked up those prices, and we're very interested in this. We're going to show you some stuff that maybe will cause you to question why Disney is increasing the costs at Walt Disney World. Now, if you would like to go and enjoy Walt Disney World, specifically Magic Kingdom, but all of the parks there, it's going to cost you more than ever before. And that's kind of hidden because Disney's ticket prices are the same, but the price of enjoying those tickets is different. Let's take a look at why. Out of WDWMagic.com, Walt Disney World Genie Plus price hits all-time new record high during the 2023 holiday peak week. Walt Disney World's Genie Plus has reached its highest price point since the Lightning Lane system was introduced in October 2021. Walt Disney World is entering what is traditionally the busiest time of the year, from just before Christmas Day to New Year's Day, and Disney is raising prices to match demand. When initially, and folks, remember that. Disney is raising prices to match demand. Disney is raising prices to match. Okay, everybody remember that. It's going to matter in just a few. When initially launched, Disney Genie Plus was $15 and has now reached a whopping $39 for the same multi-park option. Okay, so let's ponder that for a moment. So essentially $40, so the math is easy. Family of 4 goes to Disney World right now. Family of 4 wants to ride the rides the same as all the other people. Family of 4 decides we have to have Genie Plus. Family of 4 then is paying an extra $160 per day. Okay, per day. So that is essentially the cost of another ticket. All right, so they're paying the cost of another ticket now, whereas this thing was originally billed as it's just a little thing, just $15. We'll adjust it based on size, but $15, that's not bad. Okay, $40 now. As of December 23rd, 2023, Magic Kingdom, the multi-park option is $39, a $4 increase over the previous all-time record set in April of 2022. Disney's Animal Kingdom Genie Plus price today is $29, which had a previous high of $25. Hollywood Studios $35, Epcot $32, all records. These new prices will likely remain in effect through this weekend, at least to New Year's Day. Pricing is set each day and not published in advance. Individual Lightning Lane attraction purchases remain at their maximum levels, but have not increased in price alongside the Genie Plus price hike. Now, folks, remember this is supposed to increase with the crowd levels, right? Well, let's take a look at this, and we're going to update this so that we are absolutely right on the ball with what's going on. All right, so there we go. Got it uploaded. Let's take a look at what the wait times are for this record-breaking, can't believe it kind of thing, okay? Again, this is real-time data. This is updated right now. All right, so if you want to go ride Space Ranger Spin, it's going to take you an hour. If you're going to ride Space Mountain, it's going to take you an hour, 15 minutes. If you want to ride Little Mermaid, 55 minutes. Enchanted with Belle, 55 minutes. We've got the Snow White Mine Train. It's almost at 2 hours. It's a Small World, 45 minutes. Haunted Mansion, 55 minutes. Peter Pan, over an hour, about an hour and a half. If you want to ride Pirates of the Caribbean, it's 45 minutes. If you want to ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, it's a little bit over an hour. I would suggest, folks, that this is not record-breaking crowd levels, according to what we're seeing. And why would I say that? Well, because their biggest capacity crowd eater, that is Splash Mountain, is down. And by the way, Splash Mountain won't be returning, and God help them if they release a subpar Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure that cannot eat crowds because nobody wants to ride it, because then they're not going to have the capacity to handle crowds anymore. But given the fact that their biggest ride is currently being redone for social virtue reasons, the idea that Space Mountain's slightly over an hour, that's not utterly crowded. And so, is it crowded? Yes, to some degree. Is it record-breaking, oh my gosh, raise the prices to heights we've never seen crowded? No, this is just kind of normal for the holidays. So Jungle Cruise, an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. This isn't massively newsworthy in terms of, oh my gosh, the crowds are insane. And yet the prices are. So what I would say is that they use the optics of Genie Plus in two ways. The first way is they use the Genie Plus optics to say, it's more crowded than it's ever been, without saying that. So instead of saying it's more crowded than it's ever been, they say the prices are higher because of crowding. But they never come out and explicitly say, by the way, we're more crowded than ever before, because that would be untrue. And the second thing is that by that implicit statement that they're making there without being explicit, then it justifies in a cyclical manner their pricing of Genie Plus, because you're like, oh my gosh, it must be so crowded. Of course they have to raise the prices. I'm willing to pay that extra $40 now for just one person in my family to get to ride rides. Meanwhile, why are these rides up there in these this kind of queue time? Look at this, folks. Look at this. Okay, take a look at, for example, Snow White Mine Train. 110 minutes, right? So close to 2 hours. Why is it 2 hours to ride that ride? Well, it's 2 hours because so many people are using Genie Plus. And so then it takes forever to get on this ride because of Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. Because all of those people are getting on the ride while the standby people who didn't pay the money are going at like a snail's pace to get on. And that's how you get to 2 hours. This is, in my opinion, this is all manipulative. This is all manipulative in a way to separate you from the cash in your wallets more and more and more and more. So
yeah,
there you have it.
This is the artificial scarcity that I launched into multiple forums on well before this program launched with Fast Pass Plus bologna sausage, right? Legacy Fast Pass proved that you could manage a two-line system with limited availability in the most fair way possible. And you weren't, scheduling things in advance or any of the other stuff that came along afterwards. The idea of having two lines made a lot of sense because people who wanted to guarantee they had access to what they valued, their high valued attraction, would be available to them. It just was a matter of exchanging time in a different way. And it was very possible, it doesn't matter what park it was instituted at, in order to do that. Well, what they discovered, and again, I blame, believe it or not, Jay Rasulo, Tom Staggs, and many others, Tom Staggs specifically, for the scheme to separate you from more of your money that was it used to be in your wallet. In fact, he said that during a conference call, a quarterly call, a meeting at one point in time way back when. But when this started to roll out in its weird way in 2013, this was very predictable. We knew that pay to play was going to factor large into the properties. We knew that they were going to start investing heavily into these exclusive parties and things like that because they didn't want to invest more money in developing attractions or spaces or even new parks in Disney World or any of their other locations. They wanted to extract more from the park goer. And that's all this program has done. A Genie Plus is not going to go anywhere. You're going to create artificial scarcity. You've created artificial scarcity on rides that never needed to be there. Haunted Mansion, Spaceship Earth, anything that's that is a Omnimover attraction should never have had any kind of separate line because it's a constant flow of traffic. Probably the greatest defense would be Pirates of the Caribbean because that is such a people eater. And they don't have people eaters anymore. They've now created, because of adding these additional lines that weren't needed.
They don't want them culture.
I know,
In
and
my
it's
in my opinion, they want to force you to buy them. They don't want to force you. They want you to feel so compelled to pay extra money just to get to ride the rides.
yeah, except they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, Pro, because they've already seen this happen with price objection for theaters. We were talking about at the beginning of the show, and now you're creating price objection to just attending your park. Do you know you can definitely pay a flat price to have the express pass over at Universal? You can.
Yes, you can, and it's very expensive, and
It
that's a
is.
good thing.
Yeah, they keep it really, really high, and they limit the total number of sales of that. And that actually creates
Does
real
Disney?
scarcity.
Does Disney? I don't know the answer to this anymore. Do they stop the sale of Genie Plus? I don't think they do.
I think they do at some level, but
It must be
they
astronomically
obviously
high.
they
Well, it's
don't
everybody in the
release
park
specific
would be my
numbers.
guess.
Well,
I know that they
the-
stop it at the okay. So the premium Lightning Lane passes that you can buy for individual attractions, those I know have a limit, but just Genie Plus itself, I don't think there's a limit.
So they will Rogue Attraction, which Rogue Attraction has a great channel going through theme park stuff.
Oh no, good.
They did this weekend. I do think that they limit it, but here's the thing that is going on here. Essentially, they are forcing you to make a wager when you come into that park. That they keep Genie Plus low enough that they think everyone's going to buy it. It's the prisoner's dilemma played out in theme park lines.
Yep, that is perfectly said.
You think that everyone else is going to be getting Genie Plus. Therefore, you need to pay this extra money in order to get Genie Plus. With the price point of Universal, they're offering an actual service as opposed to this bet against yourself that you have to make when you go into the theme park. The price is high enough and the line is clear enough for the Express Pass line that yes, you can pretty much walk on a lot of these great rides.
Yes,
and some lesser rides as well. The entire point here is that you think you have to do it, and they're just going to keep raising the temperature here. They're going to keep raising that price until you get to the point where you cannot afford it. They are doing, like Bob Chapek did, a long-term experiment to see just how much money they can milk out of guests without raising, in fact, lowering value for guests at the same time.
It's a trap. Let me suggest this very quickly, and this is something I knew they were doing anyway, and I knew it would be something they would continue to do. One of the features of which I would call a bug was the ability of Disney to limit capacity at attractions by operations from the operations side, because they would staff them at a lower rate and run fewer ride vehicles. They do this on Pirates all the time to essentially create a situation where you have scarcity there, where the lines are longer because they have fewer operators available to run them. And I know Vash can speak about this at length. I mean, you can artificially make Pirates a very long line just by running half the boats. It's not difficult. It doesn't take you more to add capacity there, other than maybe an additional operator for safety concerns. Although I would say they've cut back on that. I mean, if you look at Living with the Land, they have fewer operators there than ever. They essentially have 2 to 3 operators in total for that attraction, where it used to have 6 or 7, at any one time at different points. But they don't have that anymore. So go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying you can also adjust these things in various ways that people don't think about. Like for example, Culture was very astute in pointing out that you can remove half the boats, and now you take a 1,500 person per hour capacity attraction, you can reduce that down to 750, and now that 1 hour line becomes a 2 hour line. You can also adjust those ratios, right? How many Genie Pluses are we letting in at a certain point versus, or lightning lanes versus standby line? And those ratios are very paramount, very pivotal to how quickly your standby line is. And you can also just type in random, times in order to create a perception that you need a service like Genie Plus in order to get past it. Go ahead, Culture.
Well, no, I was going to add, they no longer track actual traffic through attractions anymore. They used to actually give you a badge every number of guests to make sure that their posted times were at least close to where they are. They don't even bother with that anymore. And if you ever are curious about dispatch times, and I don't know if this will be true with Tiana's discount Rainforest Cafe attraction, but When that is running at full tilt, right, the experience may be diminished because you're running into other flume vehicles. I'm going to say, because I have no idea if there'll be logs anymore, to be fair. But I mean, there'll be a lot of floating logs in there, but it may not be ride vehicles. Anyway, beyond all of that, the attraction itself, if they are dispatching at full tilt, you will run into other logs, and the experience may be slightly diminished. But that tells you that this attraction is running at its full capacity. And they haven't run anything at full capacity other than a few select days in a very long time. And my friends that go to the parks on the regular, if you watch them, like Rogue Attraction was here and would mention him, and obviously Lorena Creole, our very own here on Pro and that park place, they go all the time, and they can tell you this attraction is not running at capacity. It's not even close, and yet we have an artificial line here. You could experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying that was the beautiful thing about the reservation system, because the reservation system was an artificial cap on how many people you actually let into the park. So you don't necessarily have to, hire all this labor and keep them staffed and so forth, or run these attractions at full tilt, because you don't have necessarily as many people coming in. In order to create even more of that artificial scarcity. But you were going to go ahead and give an example.
No, you got where I needed to go. So yeah, the artificial scarcity mechanism that was put in place by the Gen 2, the next gen, whatever you want to call it, thinking here, which was the idea to make all of this electronic and to track everything that you do throughout the park, which does not work at all. I mean, it works to a certain extent, but it's not as planned. That actually created the opportunity for them to do this, and that's all. It's the thing I warned about all the way back in the 2010s. I was trying to say this is bad for us. Very, very
ultimately,
bad.
Ultimately, I think what happens here is that it diminishes crowd levels while making it feel more crowded than ever. So you have a decrease in the revenue, the legitimate revenues for the park, in my estimation. While at the same time, you have a lessening park experience, again, my estimation, for your average guest. And so neither of those lines should be going in opposite directions, but they are. You should be having higher revenues, higher legitimate revenues, because you have higher guest participation in the parks, while at the same time, you have created the parks in such a way and crafted them in such a way that it feels less crowded, not more, because you have set up the most efficient systems possible.
Right.
And everything is being twisted in the wrong ways.
Right. Good. This is a good question. This makes no sense. The parks should want to run at highest capacity to max out income. The rides running at maximum capacity is something that costs them more money.
Correct.
So
they want some attractions.
Right. They want people to be in lines and what's the best way to put this? Once they get you in the park, they're not worried about how many rides you hit. They know that there's a certain number of rides you need to hit in order to feel satisfied. And they want to keep that low they want to keep what you actually do as low as possible while not upsetting you.
Right. And
guest satisfaction. Guest satisfaction's
culture.
At an all-time low right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, since obviously the global crisis, guest satisfaction scores have dropped at Disney dramatically.
This is so important, though, because this is a complete reversal in the mindset that was in the 80s and 90s.
Yes,
and far before that. The mindset there was to give guests more so that they wanted to come back. But
do we want to go through that 3-minute video where they just, in song and dance form, go through all of the amazing perks that are at the park?
Right. Well, no, I'm fully with you. But the problem is that Disney now, they believe, and this is so wrong-headed, and this is why they're going to send their theme parks in the same direction as their box office. The mindset is, we've got these guests once every 4 years, maybe longer than that. We've got once, this is a once in half a decade or a decade trip for Disney World. Disneyland's different. So give them in each one of the parks 10 attractions, and that's enough. And separate as much money from their wallet as you possibly can. The mindset of Disney years and years ago was, have them go to everybody they know when they leave here and talk about all the things they couldn't do because it's so amazing. You'll never believe it. It's overwhelming just how much fun it is. They give you things that you would never anticipate. They're so much greater than any other theme park. It's cleaner. It's better. Yeah, I paid a lot of money, but here's all the perks I got. You just won't believe how well they take care of you. And that has been reversed now. And that's why you can have a situation where it's less crowded but feels more crowded. where not only are you paying more because of the season, but you're also paying more once you get through the turnstiles just to get to ride the rides that you wanted to ride in the first place that you thought your money was going towards. And ultimately, it's causing regular folks to say enough. And that's why Disney is doing everything they can to attract locals on annual passes now, because they've got to fill in the gap.
I mean, for a family of four to go to Magic Kingdom today, it's about $159 day, right? So times 4, it's about $640. It's a 16-hour operating day. Park opens at 8, closes at 12. So that's about $40 an hour for a family of four to actually be in there. So
did you add Genie Plus to that?
Yeah, I haven't added Genie Plus, and that's where I was going. It's like
okay,
for
go.
a family of four, it's to get the most out of your day. If you're spending literally $40 an hour to be in the park, to add $40 four ways is not necessarily as consequential as losing out on your ability to maximize on your vacation. Disney's betting on that,
yes,
and that's why they're setting this price.
And I'll also point out that the number of attractions that are available to guests are the lowest that they have ever been.
Yes.
If you want to follow the data from Joshua Harris and his websites, JLH at JLH Omni on Twitter.
All right, folks, we are over. It's the kiss goodnight if we were in the Disney parks. Wrap it up. Let's head on out. But before we do, like, share, subscribe. And when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Have you been to Disney World lately? And did you feel as if you were being nickeled and dimed to death? And those nickels and dimes, by the way, are looking much more like Benjamins as of late. Let us know down below. The capacity issues of the parks, I would say, folks, it's a big deal. It's very easy for the parks to look crowded when they only have a dozen or so rides in some of these parks. And when Genie Plus is meaning that if you're in standby for those rides, well, everybody is passing you up. And then that creates two problems, of course. The people who were in standby, they're stuck. And the people who were in Lightning Lane, they get on the ride, they get out, and they have nothing left to do because there's only 12 rides. And that makes it look even more crowded. Bunch of craziness. They've really messed up. Anyway, I am dragging on too long. Folks, we hope you had a good time. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.